One thing that I feel like so many people don't understand is the fact that healing isn't about becoming a new person. It's about remembering who you were prior to the world changing you. Getting back in touch with your core beliefs, your morals, and your values. Because whether you realize it or not, you've changed. And a lot of people that you may have had around you previously have witnessed this form of change occur. And I feel like oftentimes we may look at this as something that's negative. We may feel like, okay, we went through certain hardships. They put us in this position where we may have felt pain, where we may have been sad, where we may have been angry. So we automatically have this negative viewpoint on this version of healing that we may need to go through. But I'm here to let you know that not only is this a good thing, but it's ultimately going to help you get closer to your purpose than ever before. Just think about it like this. As kids, we were creative, we were free, fearless. Then life taught us to shrink, doubt, and hide. I personally feel like society and just the majority of lives that we live, we've been put in a position where we almost want to be contained. When you start doing things that not everybody else is doing, the world paints you out to be somebody who's strange or to be somebody who's weird, simply because you may have an imagination, simply because you may allow this form of ambitiousness to drive you to reach those new high points in life. And is that fair? Not at all. But the only thing that we can do is just take in the world around us and just grow at our own pace. Understanding that healing is a part of the process. Healing is not about fixing yourself. It's about unlearning all the lies that you were told, all the lies about yourself that you may have believed in the past. Really removing all of those things and then creating a new version of yourself that is more positive, that is more happy, that lives a life that you genuinely want to live. One thing that I feel like is commonly overlooked about this version of healing that we all go through is how much of a roller coaster it is. You know, at some point when we're growing and we're elevating and we finally remove ourselves out of that position where we may be in pain, where we may be suffering, where we may be hurt, we think that we can't get back to that point where we may relapse on that feeling or that hurt that we may have felt in the past. And the moment that you think that you're bigger than the program, the moment that you believe that you're not susceptible to any hurt or pain that you may have been caused in the past, will be the very moment that it may all spark up again. Always treat yourself like a human being first. And I personally had to learn this the hard way. Be humble. Always remind yourself that there's little things that can trigger certain emotions. And these emotions can spark up so much within you that you may have thought that you fully healed from, but that's just not always the case. It takes time to heal. It takes effort, energy, all of these things that constantly change throughout the daily basis. Just think about everything that we learned up until this point. You learn to people please, overthink, suppress your emotions, but none of these things represent your true nature, what you're actually here for. And as you spent all of this time doing these things, you eventually became damaged, you eventually became hurt, trying to see the best in people that really do not provide you any value, clinging on to toxic relationships or people that you know that you would be much better without being in your life. And it's just very important to understand that you will never, no matter who you are, be able to please everyone. People will take full advantage of you if you allow them to. People pleasing should never be an option, because if you live with this type of mindset, at some point you're going to be drained. You're going to realize like, man, I am not living up to the standards that I may set for myself because I have this burning desire to please the next person. And what it seems like is they cannot be pleased. No matter how much I try, no matter how much I love them, no matter how much I show that I care, there's just always something else. So at that point, we have to pour all that energy back into ourselves and realize that the only people or person that we should be trying to please is ourselves. Why? Because that's the most impactful. You have complete control over yourself. You don't have control over the next person. Love does not matter at that point. How much you care does not matter. When somebody is not providing you value, or if they genuinely don't want to be around you, it is going to drain you, and your main priority should be healing. It taught you to forget about your true self. It taught you to strip away old versions of yourself that you should have never let go of. But now is the time for you to get back in touch with them. Now is the time for you to remember who you were before you allow somebody to come into your life and damage you. Even if you may have been the person who caused the hurt or who caused the pain, take accountability and then move on. Because if you don't know what repenting is, it's simply turning away from sin, turning away from that old version of yourself. You do not have to be perfect, but you do have to do something. And no matter what side you're on, At some point in life, you need to heal, because we're human beings and we all go through something that plays a huge role on us, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be. And the thing about healing that I feel like so many people get confused is the very fact that they feel lost. But I'm here to let you know today that you are not lost. You're not lost, I promise you. You're just buried under layers of protection and pain. Just think about anything that you may have went through in your life where something may have happened negatively. Let's say you go to school when we were kids and you got bullied for something. I guarantee, moving forward, whatever it is that you felt like put you in a position to get bullied, you are going to change that. So if it was the way that you dressed, if it was the way that you looked, you probably did everything in your power to move away from whatever it is that caused that bullying. So this form of protection and pain that you've been hiding underneath is really the result of you building a new version of yourself that doesn't represent who you truly are. So during this journey of healing, just make sure that you always stay in touch with your core beliefs and your core values and things that ultimately represent you, so that years from now, you don't feel lost, you don't feel confused, because you know that you stayed grounded and you didn't allow anything, any pain, any trauma to truly change who you are at heart. But on this journey of healing, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is progression. The goal is taking one step at a time and paying close attention to how that made you feel. And this was something that used to make me feel very discouraged, because when I would try to make progress and build as far as my healing journey and it wasn't significant right away, I would feel like as if I'm not making progress. I would feel like it's not substantial enough to the point where it made me feel like I was actually moving forward, just because it was one step instead of 10. But you have to understand that it is going to be a process. You cannot skip it. You cannot avoid it. The only thing that you can do is just go through the motions. Cry if you need to. Take the time to heal. Take the time to vent. Go to a therapist, whatever it is that you need to do, because this is all a part of the process. You cannot just skip to the end stage of healing where you feel good. Allow yourself to go through the motions. Allow yourself to feel what it is that you need to feel, because there are some people in this world who simply put themselves in a position to strip that version of themselves away. And now they may feel little to none. The fact that we can feel things is a blessing. The fact that we have emotions and we have certain feelings that we can, not necessarily act on, but just embrace, is nothing more than a blessing. So really just take this into account. Healing is something that really does peel back those layers, and not to create a new you, but to allow yourself to return home, to allow yourself to return to your true being and stand for something that's much bigger than the current situation that you may have been in. Authenticity, something that so many people run away from because they get placed in a position where they may fall in love, or they may be around somebody that they genuinely care about and they may be working on building a relationship. But at some point you realize that if a person isn't helping you grow, or if you're not reaching those new high points with one another, then there is no need for you to be involved in that. And at some point you're going to be damaged trying to walk away, but that's okay. You just have to return home, return to who you are. Do things that make you happy, make you feel at peace, without always having to take into account the next person's feelings or how the next person may view the decisions that you're making in your life. And the way that I like to look at it, every time that you say no to what harms you, you get a step closer to who you truly are. This is why it's very important not to spend your time people pleasing, because one, not only can you not please everyone, but you being able to say no says a lot more about your overall character and self-respect than anything else. Nobody wants a yes man. Nobody wants somebody that they can constantly run over and constantly, just get over on. You have to have some sort of backbone or some sort of spine, or people will take advantage of you. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how loving you are. It doesn't matter how much money you got. If you cannot say no, people will take advantage of you. And it's really that simple. You have to stand for something or you'll fall for anything. If you're not a representation of the person that you truly want to be and you're just speaking, then people will not respect that. Anybody can talk a good game. Anybody can speak and have that form of intellect, but how many people have those actions to back up the things that are coming out of their mouths? And this has to be our focus. This has to be our priority. Representing this, being a representation of the change that we want to see, the person that we want to stand for, focusing more on our actions rather than any words that can come out of our mouths. And one of the last things that I want to touch up on is healing allows you to remember the person that you were before any of that trauma may have happened, before anything may have made you feel broken. Healing is the one thing that will make you return back to your true being. And I've spent so much of my life skipping the process, skipping things that I know deep down inside I should have allowed myself to go through. But when you love and you care about somebody, you're gonna feel this constant need to be comfortable or to be in their space or to be in close proximity. But that is not where the growth is. I spoke about this so many times on my YouTube channel. We all know that growth is outside of your comfort zone, period, point blank. You're gonna have to remove yourself in order to reach those new high points. Is it going to be comfortable? Are you gonna like it? No, but we don't need comfort in this life. We need growth. And once you get to that point where you're actually growing and you're flourishing, then you can kind of ease off. Then you can find a little comfort and be content with where you're at. But until then, you have to keep going. And your main priority has to be healing from past traumas, not even just relationships, but just any hurt that you may have been caused in the past or any childhood traumas that you may have went through. These are all things that you need to heal from, because right now you may not understand, but they play a huge role in the way that you love people. Growing up with abandonment issues, and now you carry this extra baggage and this extra weight into your relationship, and now you feel like you can't let people go. This was me. This was so hard for me to overcome because I never understood why I felt like I could never just fully be alone. And I learned that it's because I come from such a tight and small family that those that I have around me, I tend to cherish and want to cling on to. But at some point you have to learn that life is life, and people are going to come and people are going to go, and not everybody is here to stay, and that's okay. But if you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much. It's your boy Blue Jay Tay. Drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.